And then one more time, what was your in-game name again?
It's supposed to be Infested Sheet, but we can only have
Oh,
12 characters, so it's Infested She.
gotcha. All right. And then yeah, I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about. Um, I guess to get started here, one of the first things I went over with all of your other teammates as well, that we can get into is just like the, I guess, general mindset for the improvement process.
Hmm.
Like, what should you be looking for as you're getting into, as we're going into these sessions? Hopefully, by if we're not still doing sessions, years from now, you'll hopefully at some point be able to
Yeah.
improve on your own. That's the
Hmm.
goal. I would hope that as we go along here, that you'll attain the skills to be able to learn self improvement, and that's what we can talk about. Like right now, is self improvement and how you can be properly applying the things we learn about. We'll talk about application a little bit later in the session, but for the moment, let's just talk about the self improvement process because I think that that's still pretty important. Because you want to be able to improve on yourself even outside of our sessions and whatnot, and to work on your own gameplay. And when you're working on yourself, this is really the method that I used when I climbed. When I first started playing the game, I started in silver in like season 3 of Overwatch 1, and I climb now since then I've hit like top 50 a couple times, so that's a very, very large improvement span to be going through, and a lot of that came from just following this method of self improvement, which is essentially to be looking to identify mistakes and fixing those, as the general improvement method. Now you can do that while in game, while out of game. I did it all while in game because I did not have patience for replays. Not to say that I would recommend that. If you want to ever go and do your own replays, would be recommended, though of course not necessary since right now you're doing a bunch with me. So it's probably gonna be enough for the moment. But in the future, if you ever want to do your own, always a good idea. But you can also be using this method in between, like in your matches or in between your matches, where essentially you want to look to identify mistakes. I'll give you an example, and the easiest example to think about and process is that of deaths, because everybody knows that deaths are bad, right? And they are
Hmm.
big mistakes and that you shouldn't really be dying. But if you just stop on deaths, or if I just came into the session and I said, because this is also, on top of that, this is how I do your coaching, essentially, this is how I do coaching in general, is by using this method. I just am going to know a lot more at this point about the game, so I have a lot more to go off of. But if I just came into your session and I said, oh, you're dying, that's bad, bye, and
Hmm.
it probably wouldn't be too helpful, would it? You'd be like, oh yeah, no duh. Um, so you can't really just stop at what is the problem, right? Because if you just stop there, then you didn't dive any further in. You didn't fix anything. So the next step is you want to identify the issue within the mistake. So if the mistake was dying, you want to think, why did I die? So what are some common reasons why people die?
Pushing up too much.
So overextension. Anything else?
I don't know, just not paying attention to what you're
hmm
doing.
Yep. So that'd be lack of awareness. So you don't, like, for example, notice when someone sneaks up behind you, right? Anything else?
Those are just mainly what I do.
All
I,
good.
so.
So so I mean, you already got like pretty much you got like half of it, which is good, definitely good, and you'll probably know what I'm talking about when I mention the other ones. But other ones could be poor positioning, such as if you're just like standing smack dab in the middle of the open and someone starts shooting at you and you die. Or other ones could be misuse of abilities. So let's say you die and you have both your lamp and your self heal, right? That's some misuse of abilities. Or maybe you threw them out at the wrong time, right? Additionally, there could also be like poor movement, like if you're standing still and somebody kills you, things like that. There's gonna be other tinier ones too, but those are the general ones. So we've now identified the mistake. the problem within the mistake. You then want to think about the solution, which a lot of times is just the opposite of the mistake. So if I am dying because I was out in the open, well, I probably want to not be out in the open and be using cover. If I died because I was not paying attention, well, I probably want to be paying attention, and that's the solution to the mistake. And then finally is the application process, which, like I said, we'll go over later. But you want to make sure that you're actually now taking that information and putting into practice. Usually, the best things to work on are the things that are the problems that keep repeating over and over again, that you notice come up again and again, and also like the bigger ones. Bigger important problems that keep repeating are usually the best. So make sure that you're trying to identify them. There's more than just the only mistakes in the game are not just deaths. Other mistakes are going to be things like maybe you, as a support, let your teammates die. That's a mistake. Or maybe you didn't get a kill when you could have gotten a kill. Or you misused your ultimate, or you misused an ability. Things like that. Those are all going to be different types of mistakes, and identifying those is going to be the first step towards improving on them, and eliminating those mistakes is going to lead to more consistent and better gameplay. All that makes sense? Any questions on it?
Yes, it makes sense.
Cool. All right. We will go, like I said before, we'll go more into application later on, but for the moment, let's hop in some of your gameplay, and then that'll give us some examples to work with. I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay.
What's up?
One. Attackers incoming.
Let me show you. Completely healed.
All right, so we'll mention some things as we go here. I mean, like I said, we'll see things crop up, and you'll start to note that I'm once again the style is going to be I'm identifying your mistakes here. So we'll maybe touch into overhealing later, but here we throw immortality field down when anywhere that Reinhardt's pinning here is just going to pull out of the immortality field. So,
Completely healed.
we throw immortality field, but then Sigma gets dragged out of it. So really, immortality field didn't really do much if they're getting dragged outside of it. So that's one thing I'm noticing here. The other thing I'm noticing is that you kind of run straight at the Reinhardt, which is just very dangerous to do. If he just starts swinging on you, this could get you killed pretty quickly. So look to just stay outside of his swing range, because there's no reason to be right here when you could just be healing Sigma from right here, right? And then that's just gonna keep you alive. So maybe Reinhardt doesn't look at you, but there's always the potential that he does, and just because a mistake doesn't get punished doesn't mean it's not a mistake. So you just gotta be careful of things like that. Alright, so we're going to talk about some cover usage in a minute, which we'll go into, but notice there that we did the same thing, where we kind of face tanked the Reinhardt. We kind of walked into him. Let's take a moment to just go over some positioning, which I've briefly mentioned it before, but I didn't actually go in depth on it, so let's go in depth on this now. So that's going to be, once again, an example of you died, right? We're thinking, why did you die? And let's go over why in a moment here.
Another day, another battlefield.
If I am standing right about here, right, and the whole enemy team is looking at me and shooting, walk here, we ended up dying, right, because it took us way too long. So we want to make sure that we're using cover. From here, we can do all the same stuff, except for now it takes us half a second to duck behind cover, which is like 6 times faster than when it just took us doing that. Therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. The further away we stray from that, the worse positioning you're going to be in. And the great thing is the cover's all over the place, right? You have cover, like you have slopes like so. You have pillars, so you can do in between shots while you're reloading, when you're being shot. Looks like cover. Away.
Ça, c'est prescription docteur.
See you, now they can't. The high ground, right? So, yeah, and then also on top of that, ability to survive and cover are going to be foundations. And if we're going back, you know, we'll look at it one more time, and you'll see that.
You're going to be fine.
Questions on it?
No.
No, cool. Are
Nous sommes dans tes besoins logiques.
non-direct shot with Baptiste.
Feeling better?
Yeah, yeah. Like the healing.
I think that's about it for the
Peak performance.
like demonstrate.
It's not
Shit.
your day today.
Yeah.
Thought you needed a head.
Yeah, approximately 10 meters exactly, pretty much. All right, let's head out here. All right, Kings Row.
Ready for battle.
Alright, so rewatching, right? Because we noticed we died, right? Death's a problem. Notice even just like here,
Mhm.
we can do a lot of the same exact stuff of healing and shooting and ability usaging just from this corner right here, which allows us to just instantly duck behind if soldiers are shooting at you, right? Like,
So would that be the best corner to be peeking, or would?
yeah, I'd probably say so. Like over on this right side, I'd say I'd say in a kind of tight area to work with. You don't really have many easy rotate options here. So there's a lot of other things to think about with positioning, like, you know, what happens if Reinhardt charges you here? You kind of have to run really far around to do anything. So, yeah, I'd say right side corner or high ground are probably the best option.
Enemy turret up ahead.
Objective lost.
Also, just to check, you are aware, because I'm not sure whatsoever, like, you know, if that was just a, you know, click
No,
click
I
of
know I
habit.
don't.
You know, you don't see
Yeah,
yourself
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
I'll just try to save this far right here. Yeah.
Cool.
Qui on you? Let's group up.
Okay. So, Right now, during this time, maybe like if you see Fars up there poking, you could be doing just what you were doing, and just being there near her so you can heal as needed. And then also even maybe just getting in some spam shots yourself. If you're 87, that could just guarantee that you get your ult by the time the fight starts. So if
Mhm.
you're just getting in some spam shots. All right, so we're rewatching here. Firstly, I guess let me ask this, right? This is once again another death, and I would say like most of your deaths, especially the lower down you are going to be very easily preventable deaths, like something you could have fixed.
Mhm.
I'd say this is a death that we could have fixed. It could have been prevented. What would you say the issues within the mistake are here with this death?
I think my position.
Yeah,
I was
position.
pushed up and I couldn't back out
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yep. So once again, not using cover, you're out in the open. So let's say,
Mhm. Mhm.
so maybe like you could, it's like other,
What's up? I
alright,
Send him to the field.
cool. So, um, here playing a little bit far in this fight, from our team. Um, so far you've been pretty decent with your ranging to your team, but maybe could be a little bit trying to push a little bit closer during the beginning here. Just because a lot of Baptise kit isn't as good when you're really far away from your team,
Mhm.
right? Because you can't use your shift outside of 10 meters. Your gun and your lamp are both projectiles, which means they're difficult to land at ranges and delayed to land at ranges, right? They're going to be getting heals and immortality slower. You're not going to be able to use your ultimate as as easily for your team when you're really far away. So that'd be something here. Is like we just play a little far. Maybe wanted to take some time to push forwards a little bit. Maybe be like more where soldiers at right now might be a good idea.
Mhm.
Secondly, another concept here is ults that are used first generally speaking get more value than ults that are used second. So notice how they came into the fight, and did they
Send him to the
just
field.
use ults? They just beated, which that was a really, I don't know why they beat it now, but that was a bad beat. But they beat it, and then they used Shatter, and then they used Visor, and they did all of that before we used any ults on our team, right? So they just used a bunch of ults, and therefore they got the value of those ultimates really quickly. They get kills, they get elims, they get pressure, and now let's say we used window now. Well, now we have less people to shoot through it, and maybe we've already lost the fight, or maybe they already killed you at that point. So therefore, you most of the time, not all the time, most of the time get less value out of it.
Mhm.
So best time to use your ultimate is the start of the fight. Mid fight's okay, late fight is situational, and then in between fights, very rarely do you want to use it. So here, one way that you could get more value is just to use the ult quicker, like
Send him to the field.
more like 10 seconds ago. So like pretty much like I'd say you could be looking to push forwards here and get where soldiers at,
Healing you up.
and then could be using it like around nowish, right now the fight's engaged. Is a time that we could be using it, or like really any time here. We can't really from this position, but if you were
Mhm.
closer, you could have. All right, good decision to back out here.
My ultimate is
All
ready.
right, so
Get in position.
um, so let's talk about concept called overhealing. So if we are ever healing people who are full HP or very close to full HP, that's called overhealing. So basically, if we're healing somebody who is full HP, it does absolutely nothing, realistically. Like, so if we're healing Junkrat and we shoot a shot, it doesn't do anything. And that time ends up therefore becoming wasted, as well as the resources. So that ammo that we just used also gets wasted. And then therefore we could have had a lot more value out of that time if we do really anything else. I'll give you really easy options. You can, instead of going for healing, you can use that time to reload. You can use that time to start shooting with your left click to get damage and pressure in. You can be looking for somebody else to heal. You could be looking to use an ability or ultimate, things like that. You have a lot of other options to work with, and really it's just anything but nothing. And oftentimes when you see it crop up, it's usually like a habit that'll keep going. So here you can just see how it's not just this, one shot, which if it's one shot, that's not a big deal, but it ends up becoming one shot, and then 2 shots, and then 3 shots, and then 4 shots, and then 5 shots, and then 6 shots, right? And then Reinhardt charges in, and then that's 7 shots when he's full HP. And then now Reinhardt's down 50 HP, but another thing to consider is 50 HP always imperative to be healing somebody over? Okay, well, maybe that you can find more value out of, for example, if Reinhardt's just down 50 HP and we only have 4 shots here, maybe reloading is more important, because what if he's critical HP and, another 4 shots, he's critical. Now we don't have ammo to heal him. So maybe healing or damage can come as a bigger priority over healing 50 HP. So even that little bit can sometimes be over healing, but maybe if you're in between a fight, it's not go for it. There's nothing else to do. So that's another thing here. So you end up doing it's like 7 shots over healing. Decently solid. Well, very very good timing with the ult.
Enemy turret taken care of. Regenerated.
Yeah, no, sorry, I forgot to mention. So with overhealing, very easy way to counter this is to make sure you're paying extra close attention to health bars, because that's how you know. You're not going to be able to know if you don't watch them, but if you watch them, then you'll know. And make your alternative whenever you see someone's full HP. Automatically, what I would do is automatically, I'd maybe glance at your reload, see if you need to reload, and if not, just start shooting. So those are probably your 2 best alternatives to overhealing.
Okay.
So you can see, for example, we kind of do it again a little bit, right? Heal, that's good. Okay, now he's full HP, and we go again, and then we throw Immortality Field. When it comes to Immortality Fields, you want to make sure that you're applying the same exact positioning principles to your Immortality Field. So that means if we place Immortality Field here, look how fast Immortality Field goes down. It's already destroyed, right? And therefore it just gets less value. So you want to make sure you're using it and placing it behind cover. So if Soldier's in this room here with us, very easy thing to do would just be to throw it around the corner here, and then it can hit Soldier, but the enemy team can't shoot at it, right? Which just makes it so that it stays alive during the whole duration. You can use doorways like this. So I think if you actually threw it here, it might even go up above the doorway. So you can throw it above the doorway, to the side of it. You can throw it. Objects, really all the same stuff, same tricks, just use cover. Then it's okay to not use cover, just know it might go down pretty quick. Yeah, good shift usage. Okay, good healing. That was a good swap from healing to damage there.
Passez
Yeah.
prescription, docteur. Get into the field.
Okay, so I think we saw like we heard the gasp and then we kind of did like the panic lamp, but here we just gotta pay attention to the fact that like nobody can really see you here, and you're also being healed by you just used self healing and you're being healed by your mercy. So I don't think the immortality is necessary, just because of all those things. So just more things to be aware of and paying attention to.
What number? Are you alive, boy? Amplification matrix ready. Let them out.
I think that's pretty solid usage. Good placement of it. No one else shot through it. I don't know where your Junkrat went. Junkrat was like right there. Alright. What's in so we die. Let's think of ways that we could have prevented this death, right? So Reinhardt charges you. What is the one biggest way that you could have stopped, or I guess let's say what are two big ways that we could have stopped this?
Jump.
Jump. Massive. That's the easiest one right there. Yep.
Let them out.
Yeah. Probably other ones just like, I guess, looking to dodge it or move to the left or the right out of the way. I feel like maybe like we started moving a little slowly, like we didn't really move. We just kind of walked in a straight line into his charge, right? So looking to kind of dodge it to the left or the right, but definitely jump is the easiest way to go about it.
One. Attackers incoming.
Okay, good heals. Okay, once again, maybe like using some of this downtime when like most of everyone's great. So like you heal up Orisa, right? After we do this and she's like pretty good, maybe use that time to just get a reload in so we have shots to work with, but we get her to full HP and then we're still shooting, and then now let's see, in 2 seconds when we need to reload, we're at 1 ammo, and then Orisa, if you just saw her, she's half HP and pushing in, right? So just looking at some of that stuff. Oh, and then she's dead. Good sleep, but maybe a little bit late. Good shots. Okay. Oh, really good nade. I like the aggressiveness behind it. Okay, team's kind of trying to push in without everybody, and that's kind of communication stuff. But also, is this ranked or scrim?
This one I ranked.
Ranked. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I like the aggressiveness behind your ability usage when they don't really have too much to contest you personally. I mean, like you can put like minor things like here we kind of do a blind nade when nobody's there. Good sleep though. Okay. We'll talk about stuff in a moment. Okay. No, like the kind of sleep gets pretty much wasted there if we were waking up immediately with nade. So if you're ever going to be using them both on the same person, usually nade and then sleep, or use the sleep, use the nade as you're waking, as you're trying to melt them down and wake them up. Here as well, like we kind of have a couple people lined up, but we're just going for the Orisa with it. Like Orisa's right next to Lucio. So let's actually go over a couple different things here on Ana that we can go over. So let's talk about some nade techs and usages for how you can get more value out of it. I like how you're using it very aggressive. That's how you should be using your nades in a lot of cases, unless you need it defensively. And then you can, of course, use it defensively. Firstly, let's talk about Ana's scope usage, because I was noticing a few times they were misusing it. So Ana has 3 different types of scoping. She has unscoped shots, she has hard scoped shots, or just scope shots, and then she has quick scope shots. Now, you want to, the advantages and disadvantages of each. Unscoping, you keep mobility, you keep visibility, and it is a projectile by nature. Your scope shots, you lower your mobility, you lower your visibility, but it ends up zooming in, and the lowered mobility helps you land more shots accurately, and it's also a hit scan shot. So all of which will help you at a longer range. It's also going to lower your sensitivity as well, right? Then therefore the easy difference between the two is going to be close to long ranges. So when you're at a close range, you're going to use your unscoped shots. So I'd say approximately, let's say like about, like, it kind of depends on how confident you are in your shot hitting of shots. I'd say about most of the time, maybe like 15 meters on teammates, 10 to 15 meters, and then 15 to 20 meters on tanks, right? Tanks have bigger hitboxes. So it just kind of depends on your confidence level, but nothing past like 20 meters on teammates most of the time. That is going to be is going to be hard scope shots, right? 15 20 past, right? That all that's, this is going to be scoped, because then you're going to have more accuracy in your shots. I was noticing shots where we're all the way back here and we're going for these shots, and that's just going to be more difficult on yourself unnecessarily because it's a projectile. By the time it gets there, they've already moved out of the way, whether intentionally or not. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick scope gets kind of the best of both worlds, where you can you keep your mobility and visibility, but you get the hit scan shot because we're just tapping it really quickly. So that's gonna be really good at ranges, but has a lower fire rate than the other two. So you want to be using that when you're under pressure. So let's say somebody's on top of you or shooting at you, but you're trying to heal somebody really far away, you can quick scope, or damage someone really far away, you can quick scope. Or if you're trying to push in, so like let's say for example, we're all the way back here and we're trying to push in, we're walking back from spawn, and you don't want to just sit here and you don't want to have inaccurate shots, we can quick scope as we're approaching, right? And that's going to help us land some shots a little bit better. Right. But that one, I'd say, like, especially when you're starting out, that one's the least used. The other two are going to be about like half and half. That one's maybe like 10% of the time. That'll get more, it'll be more the better you get, but not starting out using it. Nade usage. So when it comes to your nades, you have a lot of different things. Firstly, you don't want to try to hit people directly. If I try to hit somebody directly and I miss, it just goes sailing off into nothingness. But if I land it at the floor, in between as many people as possible, then you get this giant splash radius. The other thing that can happen sometimes is that they can... Oh, wait a second. Did they change that? Or do they push these bots closer together? Or... Wait a second.
No idea.
The bots... Maybe those spots are closer together than they used to be. Sometimes people can just body block it from going and hitting people behind them if it just stops the momentum of it. So the floor will guarantee it hits the max splash radius. So don't try to hit people directly. Hit the floor in between people. So you get, the more the merrier, right? You're gonna get. It's not just 1 times value. You're now getting, for 2 people. That's not just like 2 times the value. It's probably even more than that. If you have 2 people, it's maybe even, let's say, like 2.5 times the value, just because of how that works. It's going to be more of an advantage in your fight. Let's see, other things with your nade. Nade tech usage. This only really works if you are scoped in. You want to make sure that you're scoped. Line up your ult charge with an enemy, and then press your nade button, and your nades can hit them from any height or any range that you're at. let's say the bot over here going into the room. Now I can kind of line up the Q with them instead and toss it in because we're on more even footing. And then nades can hit them from that range too. So that can help with more medium to long range nades. Additionally, you just gotta keep an eye out for obstacles that can get in the way. You can probably get more into other nade stuff as we go, but those are just some things for the current moment that can help out a little bit.
Ready for battle.
Another day.
Attackers incoming.
Uh-oh. So what would you say is the mistake here?
Pushing.
Yep. Just over aggression. So just kind of pushing in by yourself and then getting cornered by their whole team. So look at where you are in comparison to your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So just making sure we're being aware and paying attention. Alright. So deaths, I would say, are at the moment happening. So let's talk. Have the survivability talk. So survivability, very important, because if you're dying super frequently, then you're not gonna be able to do as much. So let's say, I don't know how many times have we died so far. I mean, it's kind of hard to see. Let's see. I can go back here. Do every 15 seconds. Cool. So we died one time here. To three. Alright, so actually it wasn't too bad on defense. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. Okay, so let's just take it here. 7 times dead. In 10 minutes. Let's take out a minute and a half for the in between rounds and whatnot. So 7 minutes in out of like 9 minutes, which isn't an insanely bad death rate, but a lot of them are easily preventable deaths. And if this is half of the game, we can double that and say this is going to be another 7. So we have 14 deaths in this game, right? Roughly speaking. Right, let's just give that an approximation. Let's go back to where we were, and then I'll do some math real quick. 14 deaths, right, in this whole game. Each time you die, it's 10 seconds of respawn time, and then also an additional 10 seconds of walk back time to the fight, which means it's about 20 seconds per death. So if we do 14 times 20, and then divide that by 60, that is going to be about 4 minutes and 40 seconds of the entire game, which is a lot of time to be dead for. If this is a 20-minute game and you're dying 4 times, that's pretty much like a fifth of your entire game that you're dead for, which is a lot of time to be dead for. You could, in 4 minutes and 40 seconds, be getting like 2-3 ultimates. You could be getting a lot of heals in, a lot of abilities, a lot of damage, a lot of stuff to be getting done that now you just can't do at that time. And it's not just the fact that you're doing nothing at all, you're also leaving a negative impact to your team. So now because you died, your team is less likely to win that fight, and that's your impact on losing the fight, right? So there's just a lot of reasons why dying is really bad. We want to make sure that you're staying alive, because then you can have more impact. You can do a lot more if you're cutting out deaths. And then also, you're going to have more time to like practice and work on the things you've been talking about if you're actually alive, right? Can't really work on stuff while you're dead. So survivability, really important. What seem to be the primary reasons why you are dying? Like the repeating mistakes.
Pushing up past my team and not using the cover.
Exactly. Yep. And then maybe the occasional not paying attention. But those are the main two. I'd agree. Yep. So those seem to be the main things. You want to make sure that you're looking to, um, you know, work on those. Now let's work on application. Right. Let's talk about how do you apply that. Right. So now we know big main thing to work on is die less because they're very easily preventable deaths, and that's going to get you a lot more value if you're alive. And now you could come away from the session and still be like, okay, but how? Like, yeah, die less, but how do I die less, right? Like, how do I put that into practice? I get what I should be doing, but it seems vague on how I should be doing it. Excuse me. Basically, you put this into practice the same way you work on anything, and that is that while you're playing, you want to make sure that you're actively focusing on the things you're trying to work on. That means that you're not going to autopilot, you're not just going to play, but and contrary to popular belief, you're not just purely playing to win, but instead you're playing to improve. That going back to that improvement mindset, right? You're not going to go anywhere if you're not focused on getting better. Now, what that will look like in your gameplay is you're going to be picking out the thing you want to work on, such as survivability. You're going to think to yourself, stay alive, cover, 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 cover. Don't go far in, don't go too far, don't go too far. And you're just going to give yourself a constant stream of reminders to not push in and to use cover. And as you do that, and as you give yourself those reminders constantly, that's going to make it so that you're probably not going to push in and you're probably going to use cover more frequently than if you didn't think about it at all, right? That's how focusing on something works. Now, as you do that for a long enough period of time, it will form it as a positive habit. Once it's habit, you don't really need to work on it, like worry about it as much because it'll just come naturally. You don't need to think about it constantly. That's the improvement process. Also, don't try to work on everything all at the same time. That'll just become too overwhelming. That'll be too much to work on. So just pick out one category or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category, and I'll give my recommendations at the end on which ones. What does that all make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Where were we at? We were much further forwards. All right, we were like, no, we were still back. We were right here because he just died. We come back. I think we're about to see the same thing, so watch the Arisa Gold. We landed a nade. Big, massive nade. I like the aggression, but what's the issue?
My team's not there.
Yeah.
In front of them.
Yep. So stand behind your team. Use cover. Don't push that far forwards. Great nade usage. But there's so much more that you could be doing if we're not instantly dead, right? Like these fights, like if we just land, because then we'll get another round of abilities. We'll be able to chuck those in. And the other thing is that you don't have to push that close to shoot the Torbjorn who's 1 HP, right? You have a gun with a decent bit of range, so shoot at them from further away. With Ana, your range preferences is to your teammates. So your range to your teammates, generally speaking, is you prefer on the map, but less that's gonna be rarer. Are you gonna want to be super far away from your team? Then enemy team, you're going to be mid-ranged to close range. So mid-ranged most of the time, close range some of the time. Long range, once again, map dependent, rarer, right? So here, a lot of times we're just pushing to that close range as Ana on enemies when you probably most of the time want to be more mid-ranged towards them. So that instead of here, that would be like back here, right? Like where the maze at, using cover, being behind your tank, still being able to chuck in abilities, just much safer, right? All right, not gonna blame you too much for that. So I mean, not every single death is gonna have something you can fix. Like this one, maybe you could immediately start running back, but Torbjorn pretty much as you're respawning just plop stuff at your feet. So not too much you could be doing with this one here. Okay, maybe as you're approach from this right side. Yep. See, when you're live, you're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Gotta watch the that ability, so we're not just wasting the watch Orissa's. What are javelin spin? Does it have a name that I'm forgetting? Is it just
Something like
I think
that.
I think it's just javelin
I think it's
spin.
just javelin.
Yeah. So just watch that. Okay, very nice. Cool. Okay. Good job hearing her. Which remind me, I'm looking at Metafy right now. I see on Metafy that you're bronze currently, yeah?
Mhm.
Gotcha. Um, I will, I guess, say this like just flat up. A lot of the other parts of your kit look very solid for a bronze level. If you fix the deaths and you just die on a less free, like let's say for example we like cut your deaths in third or by half, I could see um immediate progression up to like a silver or gold level, like just off of that alone. Just because a lot of your other parts of your kit, like your ability usage and your
Mhm.
basic healing, a lot of that, and even like some of your ult usage, it's pretty solid for a bronze player, right? Like that, I would say a lot of your other parts of your kit are more up to par with the silver gold level, but the main thing holding you back is the fact that you have so many easily preventable deaths that you don't even get a chance to use all the other parts of your kit that are decent just because you're dead most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's of course like we're gonna be working on stuff incrementally. There's a dozen other things that we could be covering that we're not going to just because we are working at this bronze level, not a like GM masters level or whatever. So of course there's gonna be stuff that we're skipping over for the moment. Like the nuances of more advanced techniques and whatnot. Just make sure watching your teammates who can get in the way. Maybe you use the scope tech at that range.
Mhm.
Easy thing to do here is just to walk to like the right of the Orisa when you're chucking it and just pay attention to her, and then just like throwing it, throw it a little bit more to the right or walk to the right more.
Mhm.
Okay, nice sleep. Good nade. Um, okay. Sometimes it maybe feels like we're like overly targeting their Orisa with all of our abilities and time. So just throwing it out the concept, which that's maybe not the most imperative thing as of the moment. There's other things to be thinking about, but maybe Orisa's not always the target because there are a lot of other good targets to go for too.
Mhm.
With your nades and sleeps, and just remembering as well that like while tanks are easy to land sleeps on and a lot of times valuable, it also lasts half the duration, right? I think it's like 2 seconds in comparison to 4 seconds if I'm not mistaken on tanks with your sleeps, things like that. So let's do a quick review and wrap up so I actually have time to get to your next teammate here.
Mhm.
So ability usage, nades, make sure that you're trying to land at the feet. Don't try to hit people directly. Nade scoped. That's solid for the level that you're at, right? Like there's not, I don't have, for the current moment, I don't have too many gripes. We'll get it, you know, in the future. As you get better at some of those other things, we'll return to it. But for the moment, pretty solid. I'd say like low to medium priority for you to work on, maybe higher end of a low to medium, something along those lines. Ult usage, I don't think I saw any nanos. I don't think, but I did see some windows. And the windows were decently solid. Just, you know, once again, for the current moment, not as many gripes I could have. Only thing I was saying before, but just remember that ults that are used for
Another day
really
on
get
the battlefield.
that are so you
Yeah.
start a fight okay, unless it's like last the best. Then let's see. Over a mist, I'd say
Got the
be
victory fever. You don't look
you-
so good.
but I'd say a big or low HP, or main thing you're using it for is when people are in danger, right? Then besides that, you want to make sure, let's see, make sure you're using cover with your immortality field. Don't just plop it on the open, plop it behind something. And then also just make sure, like, if it's a Reinhardt pinning, that we don't throw it here, but we throw it at the end where they're going. And then that's, I think, probably about it with those. Overall, I'd say, like, maybe it goes to like a higher end of a low to medium for all of your ability usage, something like that. Then next comes your mechanics. Watch overhealing, right? Don't keep healing people who are full HP. Instead, reload, damage. Those are your main two. Look for somebody else to heal. Do really anything else. That also applies to people who are pretty close to full HP as well. Make sure that on Ana, watch your different scope usages, right? Unscoped is close range, so like 10 to 15-ish. Scoped is about 15 to 20-ish. Just make sure to maintain those distances. Quick scope is when under pressure and when trying to move places quickly, right? I think that is mostly it for the moment. Overall, that one was also maybe like higher end of a low to medium. Maybe you could even bump some of the stuff up to a medium. It's not super imperative. Next comes your positioning. Positioning, this is a biggie. We're gonna we're gonna say positioning slash survivability because they're pretty intertwined there. Positioning, make sure that you're using cover. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Make sure you're taking high grounds. Make sure you're not overextending and going way too far past your teammates. Stay behind your tank. Don't push all the way up in front of them. So make sure you're just watching all of that. Make sure that you're being careful. A lot of that is going to, you know, to help you stay alive, right? And survivability is very important to make sure you're actually doing things, which we kind of went very in depth on. As well with your positioning, make sure that you're watching your ranging. Baptiste, don't go too far from your teammates. Same as Ana, don't go too far. Baptiste is close range to his teammates, medium range from enemies. Ana's pretty much the same, but she's a little bit more flexible than Baptiste is. And overall, that was like a medium high, somewhere along those lines. That was the big important one of the session. Next comes your awareness. Make sure you're paying attention to health bars, so you know when to, you know, heal and not to heal. Make sure you're watching, where is my team at? Where is the enemy team at? Sometimes you push forwards without knowing where your team was at. Make sure that you are watching just like, you know, what's happening in kill feed, things like that. I'd say the basics were health bars, where's their team, where's our team, as the very basics for your awareness. So I'd put that all in order. Number 1 was positioning / survivability. Number 2 was awareness. Number 3 was probably your ability usage. 4 mechanics. 5 ult usage. Any questions on anything?
No, I don't
No?
think so.
Cool, cool. All right. So let's see. I'm gonna stop.